OptiQuest is a business game that helps teams make smart decisions on inventory planning. It explains why stocks are needed, how inventory influences company results, and how to set an optimal stock level. In this video, I'm sharing the introduction to inventory planning that I also use as a base to start playing the business game. Business games are a great way to combine fun and learning. And the good part is, you're never too old to play. Inventory planning is often considered as a case for the planning department, but actually it's a topic that also concerns people from other departments, in particular sales and finance. Salespeople are very upset when they have a shortage and cannot deliver their customer. However, it happens quite often because sales forecast was bad, which, in reality, it very often is. Financial controllers might wonder why the company has slow-moving stocks. Also, this is often caused by poor communication, for instance when product delistings are communicated too late. Funko Pop, famous producer of over 13,000 different collectible plastic figurines, saw some bad PR when it was reported that thousands of these figurines would end up in the trash. The company cited an inventory bloat of a mammoth 48% and limited warehouse capacity by the end of 2022, the result of a significant drop in sales, leaving Funko with no choice but to dispose of around $30 million to $36 million worth of its stock. As Funko Pop have experienced, liquidating stock is extremely costly and can devastate business. Let's now go through some inventory planning basics. There are several reasons why inventory is needed, the four most important ones being a long supply lead time, variability in demand and lead time, minimum order quantity at suppliers, and finally, there can be strategic reasons for keeping stocks. Inventory cost is not to underestimate. While often people only think about the obvious cost like the cost of money that's locked in, the interest rate, it's much more than that. It's also the physical cost of running a warehouse, the risk you need to cover, and even the opportunity cost, meaning the return you would be able to get if you spend the money on other things like investing in extra production capacity or marketing. Not all products are the same, so your inventory cost is different depending the product type and the type of storage. In 2022, Gap's warehouses were creaking under a $3 billion inventory after racking up a 37% inventory increase year over year. Though supply chain issues and overbuying were largely to blame, another setback was the dissolution of its partnership with Kanye West in 2022. This left the brand with piles of unwanted stock that they attempted to offload with heavy promotional periods. Gap managed to slim down their inventory by the start of 2023, but at a huge cost. Its merchandise margin fell by 5 percentage points, with more than half of the increase from higher discounting. Now let's have a look on how to decide how much inventory to keep. A very well-known model for inventory planning is called the sawtooth model. First, we need to decide on the buffer we need to keep in stock. We'll come back to that later. Once you have that, you calculate how many units you expect to sell during the replenishment lead time of your supplier. Every time your stock hits the level of safety stock plus the units sold during the lead time, we call this the reorder point, you need to order at your supplier. You order the difference between your maximum stock level and your safety stock. By the moment you hit your safety stock level, the new stock should be delivered. This process restarts after that, forming the famous sawtooth shape. Now, let's continue and look at the 4 parameters that help you make the correct decision. A first important thing is the variability. If variability is low, safety stock is useless. It will never be used and will just cost money. If variability is high, you need safety stock to avoid stockouts. Also, in some cases, you'll pass the maximum stock level, even if you order what theoretically should fill your stock to the maximum stock level. Secondly, inventory cost is also an important factor. We already discussed earlier that stocks are expensive. However, not having enough stock can also be costly. You might miss out on margin, or even lose customers forever. In 2025, the Dutch government intervened in a sensational way at Nexperia. The former Philips subsidiary had been in the hands of the Chinese Wingtech and its controversial CEO for some time. But The Hague pushed the Chinese management aside on suspicion of all kinds of malpractice. Beijing then stopped the supply of Nexperia chips to Europe. As a result, many European industrial companies in general and the automotive industry in particular are at risk of running out of chip stocks in the short term. Even if computer chips only account for around 2 to 3% in the total car cost, Not having them in stock can cost a huge amount of money because of factory downtime. So you better have some safety stock in this case. Next, let's discuss service levels. This is measuring how many orders we accept not to be delivered because of unavailability of stock. If service level is set at 95%, we expect to deliver 95 out of 100 order lines. If you have a low variability, say 5% or 5 units over 100 units sold, you can already reach a service level of 99% with only around 10 units of safety stock. If variability would be around 20%, you'll easily need 40 units of safety stock to reach the same service level. In 2018, over 50% of the KFC restaurants were closed for several days due to problems with the company's new delivery partner. They struggled to manage the complex logistics of supplying fresh chicken to KFC's 900 restaurants across the country from a single warehouse. This was causing a big failure within the chicken restaurant's supply chain and an absence or lack of contingency planning. KFC replied with a funny marketing, "We are sorry" campaign, but the damage was significant. Finally, we have the forecast accuracy to look at. The better our sales department is in forecasting demand, less safety stock we need to keep. Sometimes sales department can be over-enthusiastic, which results in a positive bias, and this can cause overshooting your inventory levels. Not taking into account seasonal effects during the year will trigger both under and over stocks. Special events are also very important to foresee. Some are easy, think Christmas, Black Friday. Others are difficult or near impossible to predict, think heat waves or a fire at your supplier. Using and sharing the information we have within a company and from our external business partners is hugely important to reduce variability and making the correct decisions on your inventory. I want to close this introduction to inventory planning with what probably is my favorite example of inventory planning gone wrong. The Atari video game burial was a mass burial of unsold video game cartridges in a New Mexico landfill site undertaken by the American video game and home computer company Atari in 1983. The goods buried are unsold copies of E.T., one of the largest commercial video game failures, and often cited as one of the worst video games ever released. Forecasted sales were around 5 million copies, of which they only sold around 1 million. Thank you for following this introduction course on inventory planning. If you'd like to know more on how OptiQuest can help your organization get better on inventory planning, check out our website and contact me. Let's play!